Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Held off on cages loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Affected by the devastation of Hurricane Michael. And yesterday, Mike Pence traveled also to the two states, and he saw devastation like he's never seen before. We're in the same category. It was something horrible. Thousands of federal employees and military personnel have been deployed to assist in the massive recovery effort, one of the biggest we've ever done, and we've had some pretty big hurricanes. This was just about at the top. We will not rest until every community has been fully restored. The restoration efforts here is bigger than the others because the winds were so powerful. They literally lifted businesses and houses and factories, everything in its way. They would literally lift not only the house, they would lift out the foundations in many cases. They ripped out foundations that were set deep, and nobody's seen anything quite like this. We're here today to discuss my administration's historic effort to reduce job-killing regulations. We have set a record on killing regulations. No administration has knocked out as many as us, and we have a long way to go. At the same time, we will have rules, regulations, and other standards which we need. We have to have, but we have knocked out tremendous numbers of unnecessary regulations. We've removed more regulations, and we will continue to get rid of regulations. I think within a period of about another year, we will have just about everything that we've wanted. And one of the reasons the economy is so strong is that we're not hampered by the ridiculous regulations that we were getting rid of and are getting rid of. EPA, I can tell you, just speaking of one, the things, Mr. Secretary, that we have gotten rid of, it's unbelievable and totally unnecessary. And I know you have a long way to go, and yet we're going to have the best EPA that anybody's ever had, and the strictest in a certain way. I want to thank very much Secretary Zinke, Secretary Perdue, Secretary Chow, Director Mulvaney, Administrator McMahon, and Acting Administrator Wheeler, who's doing a terrific job, by the way, over at the EPA. And we're joined today by 6 really impressive people that some of you have gotten to know, people that have been both helped and hurt in lots of different situations, but very spectacular people. I want to introduce Chris Chin, a 5th-generation Missouri farmer. Thank you very much, Chris. How's Missouri doing? Good?
We're doing good. We had a drought this summer, but we're recovering.
That's what, it's a great place. It's a great place. Luann Cundiff, a community banker from Missouri also, right?
St. Charles, Missouri.
And the community bank business is doing much better now that we got rid of the man that was running the regulatory service that was just absolutely destroying people. How is that going now?
Yeah, we have new heads of many regulatory agencies in place now, and they have been boots on the ground trying to listen to concerns from community bankers and address those concerns. So it's going well.
They're doing a really good job, and Mick Mulvaney has done a fantastic job in taking that over. We were hampered by a man that was just terrible, and now he's running for the governor of Ohio. Isn't that nice? Running for the governor of Ohio would be a terrible governor. Adam Redd, a councilman of the Ute Indian tribe of Colorado. And tell us a little bit about that tribe.
Well, it's the Southern Ute Indian tribe. We're the only tribe located entirely in Colorado. We are an energy-producing tribe.
That means you're rich.
Yeah,
they're rich.
Yeah,
that's good.
Got to be humble. But yeah, we've got money.
Great. That's great. But it's going well.
It's going well.
That's
yes.
Good. David Boyer, trucker with ABF Freight. David, thank you very much. I saw you before. Thank you, David. Benson Waller of Riverview Coal Mine.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Benson. Chip Kovac, Vice President of Engineering for his family's small business, City Machine Technologies. How's that going?
Great. Ever since the administration, we are busier than ever.
having trouble finding good qualified help. It's actually a very good problem to have.
Well, we're setting records on unemployment or employment. Use either word.
Yes.
Either way, it's a
Supply and
record.
demand.
It's good, and a lot of people are being trained, and we're training a lot of people, and companies are coming into our country now at a record clip, and they're all coming in and training large amounts of people. And frankly, I like them training them better than anybody. But I heard you're doing really well, and that's really nice. Do you have anything to say, anybody, this side?
You know, the agriculture industry is very appreciative of everything that you've done. You've brought attention back to rural America, and we appreciate it. We've had a struggling infrastructure system, high-speed internet access. In Missouri, over 60% of our rural Missourians don't have access to affordable high-speed internet.
Right.
And the work that you've done with Secretary Perdue to get money out into our rural communities, we really appreciate. The reverse CAF auction through the FCC, Missouri was awarded $254 million of that. It's going to connect 95,000 homes to high-speed internet, and we just really appreciate it. Missourians appreciate what you're doing on their behalf to make their rural communities vibrant again and to help the agriculture industry pass on to that next generation of farmers and ranchers.
Right, well, it's my honor, and you have a great race going on out there.
We do.
And that'll make a big difference, a very positive difference. The outcome. I won't say it because I'm not a political person, so I won't discuss that. I won't discuss that in front of the press, okay? Go ahead, how about yourself?
That's funny. So Missouri is well represented here. Again, I'm from St. Charles, Missouri, representing the community banking sector.
Have you seen a big difference in community banking over the last couple of years?
We have. Actually, much has changed. We actually had a meeting here last March to talk about issues we needed to work on, and the Treasury implemented some suggested changes, and you signed a law in May of this year, Senate Bill 2155, a reg relief bill, and the tone has certainly changed.
Think of it. They needed a regulatory relief bill. The regulations were so bad they needed relief from regulations, which is somewhat of a classic. Go ahead.
But I think my message here is we have so much more to do. We have a lot of positive things happening. You talked about workforce issues being a good problem to have, but it is still a problem. But we need to forge ahead because we, as an example bank, we're kind of falling in the gap for that particular regulation. We're too small to benefit from some provisions and too large. We are in the middle. So we have lots of ideas on how to modernize some existing regulations that are on the books. So look forward to working with,
Good. And go ahead, tell me about your situation.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. I'd like to start by saying thank you to your administration and also Secretary Zinke. I'm on his royalty policy committee also. So, I mean, we're tasked with streamlining the red tape. Also, our tribe, I mean, I can't thank you enough for your work in rolling back some of these regulations that we are ruled by. Our tribe has faced hurdles for years, and now we're starting to see some of the light come through with your
tribe
work.
had some big problems. You couldn't get to what you wanted to get to.
Exactly.
And now you're able to do it.
Exactly. And I mean, your administration's given deference back to the tribes to make the decisions on what happens on their land. And that was our goal to begin with. We shouldn't be told from outside sources what is best for us.
Good. Well, good. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I've seen what you've done in a short period of time. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Tell me.
Everything is good. It is good.
Big difference, right?
We're working. I run from Westfield, Virginia to Memphis, Tennessee, and I've never seen as many signs out. Help on it. Help on it. You go through Knoxville, you go through Nashville, Memphis, you look up on the warehouses, help on it. We're hiring. And we never seen that before.
Best it's ever been.
It is.
Best it's ever
Best
been.
I ever remember.
Therefore, we should do well in the midterms.
Yeah.
They never report how well we're doing, which they don't like to do. That's good. Come here. Thank you. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
On behalf of all the hardworking men and women in the coal industry, we want to thank you for your support. It means a whole lot. Back in 2016, times were really tough, and the company that I worked for actually downsized, for the first time in the history of the company. But the particular amount that I work at, just want you to know the last several months we've added 100 people, and we're looking to add.
Big difference, right?
Yeah, we're looking to add 150 more, and
Save that industry was gone. And it's a very important, really a very important asset for our country. That industry was gone. It was going to be out, and we would have had a big problem if it was gone. And they're great people in that industry, and that's what they want to do, right? Clean coal.
that's right.
What they do today, the technology on coal is so incredible. What they can do with coal today is from a different world. Good, beautiful, clean coal. And you're back working, right?
Yes, sir.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Are you Kentucky?
Yes, sir.
Good. That's good. Say hello to everybody. I just left Kentucky. We had a big,
Hello, Kentucky.
we had a big rally there the other night. It was incredible. Thousands and thousands of people outside of the arena. They couldn't get in. It was something really special, and they appreciate what we're doing. So just say hello. Go ahead.
Well, business has been off the charts across the board. Steel, energy, oil and gas. Our customer base, we repair equipment. We are helping steel mills resurrect plants that were shuttered 10 years ago, bring them back up to production to make American steel.
So one of the things we're most proud about is what's happened with our steel industry. Our steel industry was dead. The aluminum industry was dead. It was dead as a doornail, both of them. And steel in particular, but aluminum also. Steel is through the roof now. We're taxing the dumpers, the nations that dump, and they dump a lot of garbage steel, sand steel, mud steel, bad steel, not strong steel. And then we use it to fabricate beams for buildings and parts for airplanes, and we find it's no good. And in many cases, they don't know about it until long afterwards, in some cases when it's too late. So now we're taxing them, and very, very heavily. And what's happening is the steel industry is thriving. I mean, literally in a period of a year, the steel industry is just a hot industry right now. So it's been a great thing to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vice President, do you have anything to say?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank these 6 great Americans for coming in and helping to tell the story of this economic boom. 4.2 million new jobs created, and you've signed legislation to pass the largest tax cut and tax reform in American history. But what you and I both hear as we travel around the country is what we heard again this morning, is that the fact that this president and this Congress has actually passed more laws repealing federal red tape than any administration in American history is making just as much a difference in the prosperity of the nation. So I want to thank all these folks, all the members of our cabinet, for coming here and helping to tell the story about rolling back red tape, rolling back taxes, getting this economy rolling again. But our promise to all of them, Mr. President, like you always say, is we're just getting started.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Administrator, tell me, EPA, give us a little talk.
So far under your leadership, we've rolled back 28 regulations, saving the American public $1.5 billion. We have another 54 deregulatory actions planned over the next year. At the same time, though, our air is getting cleaner, our water is getting cleaner. Air is 73% cleaner than it was in the 1970s. So we're deregulating, but we're protecting the environment at the same time.
And you're opening up and allowing businesses to open and thrive, as opposed to they can't do it. You can't do it. Great job. Linda, please.
Well, it's terrific, Mr. President. Thank you very much for your vision of a common sense approach to job growth. If you cut taxes, you roll back regulations, you get out of the way of small businesses, they will start, grow, and expand. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And I have the benefit of being out on the road and interacting with companies like City Machine Technologies in Youngstown and seeing exactly what they're doing. So rollback of the regulatory environment really is boosting the businesses, and I see it and I feel it.
Right. Great job, Lynn. Thank you. Lane?
Mr. President, who would have thought a year ago that GDP growth for the third quarter would be 4.2%? People were surprised it was even over 3% in the second quarter. It was 2.2 in the second quarter.
They didn't think so.
Unemployment rate is now at 3.7. It's the lowest in about 50 years. Right. And at the Department of Labor in the previous 8 years, the overall avalanche of regulations was strangling job creators, employers, and the department was basically, sending out about $3.1 billion annually in regulations that were not all useful. They didn't help safety. And David Boyer is here. He has driven over 2 million miles without accidents, and he also will be named.
You never had an accident?
No,
Really
2 million
driven
miles.
over
Never
6 million miles.
I want him to drive for me. How about leaving the trucking industry?
And he will be named the National Trucker of the Year by the American Trucking Association. So we want responsible regulations, but regulations that make sense, that are not overly burdensome, that are not duplicative, and that don't make sense. And so at the Department of Transportation, that's been our guidance as we go forward.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So, Mr. Secretary, the largest landlord in the world.
Well, Mr.
He's the
President,
largest in this country, I guess.
I'd like to highlight the Southern Utes. This is an example when you empower a great nation to do great things. They give free health care, free education. You know, things are pretty tough out in Indian country, but when you empower great people to do great things by deregulating and making sure that they're involved in decision making, and many times the sovereignty should mean something. This is a great example of the empowerment and the ability to shape your own future in Indian country. Bravo Zulu, to Southern Utes.
So, Secretary, tell us about energy and what's happened with energy. We've become the biggest in the world. A lot of it's because of what we've done. Tell us just quickly about that.
We are the largest oil and gas producer on the face of the planet. Inconceivable of 600 days ago. We're the first time in 60 years we're exporting liquid natural gas. And what it means is there's $20 trillion of untapped wealth in this country. Energy all above. And as you know, Mr. President, we're all the above. We just want it made in America. And by having energy made in America, I don't want to ever be held hostage. I don't want to see your kids see what I've seen. There's a lot of reason to fight, but fighting for energy is not one of them. And economically, we're seeing a rebirth. We have the lowest unsubsidized price of gasoline on the face of the planet, and that's because American energy is delivered.
So we're the largest in the world now, energy. And you said 600 days, and that's right. It's taken place very quickly. We've made it possible. We've opened it up, and thank goodness if you look at oil prices, we're very happy we did, because it would not be a pretty picture right now. But now we don't need others. In the old days, we needed others, and that's how we got involved in the Middle East. We don't need others now. Mick?
Mr. President, it's our second deregulatory day here. We get a chance to talk about this in the cabinet a little bit, and the really good news I don't think anybody's talking about is that we're actually doing better this year than we did last year. As good a year as we had last year, and deregulation this year was actually even better. More things taken off the books, more things slowed down, more savings for people. That's because it's a priority for you, and everybody in the cabinet has pulled in the same direction on this, because they know it's a priority for you, it's been a priority for them, and the results are real. We have real, tangible savings that everybody around here is benefiting from. On the banking front, which I sort of spent some time with across the street in my other job, the neat thing about that is that you look around the table here, even the folks with the cameras, everyone here needs their community banks to be strong, because they need access to capital, folks need mortgages, they need to borrow money for cars, and when our banking industry is strong, everybody else here does better, and we've made some real good progress on that last couple of years.
Good job. Sonny?
Mr. President, I've told you before, your deregulatory agenda as well as your trade agenda for American agriculture has been tremendous. The farmers, ranchers, and foresters of America appreciate what you've done and understand that your heart for rural America is greater than they've seen. They understand that you've got a heart for the working men and women who produce our food and fiber out here.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you. What's to say?
Sure. I think, Mr. President, one thing that we could highlight is that regulatory reform is in part about furthering individual liberty and the rule of law. And Americans are hardworking and productive, and when government gets out of the way, we can see that jobs are created, businesses grow, and innovation flourishes, which benefits really all Americans.
Well stated. Thank you very much. Well, thank you all very much. We'll talk for a little while, and we appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Congratulations on 2 million miles. 2 million miles, that's a lot of miles.
Mr. President, you talked about unnecessary regulations, but earlier this week your administration proposed a new regulation on the drug industry in terms of the price of drugs being disclosed in their television advertisements. So for you, sir, what's your criteria?
It's a very simple criteria. We want to get drug prices down, and We're going to have advertising, subject to final approval. We're going to have advertising of drug prices so that people can see how much drugs are and they can price them. Right now, you're not allowed. In fact, pharmacies aren't even allowed to talk about prices. They're not allowed to talk about competitors. They're not allowed to say that, well, this drug is this much and this drug is that much. You know that. It's against the law. We're opening it up so that these people have to be more competitive, and it's going to have a huge positive impact on drug prices, we think. So essentially, even when they advertise on television, they're going to talk about the pricing. So when people are sitting home, they can say, wow, that drug is X dollars, and this drug is the same drug by a different company, and it's here. I think it's going to have a huge competitive advantage. We're bringing drug prices down. Not only did Pfizer and Novartis and others cut the price after I called them, and cut it very substantially, and I thank them for that. They made a big price increase and then they cut. But we are now going to cut the price of drugs very, very substantially. So I actually like that question. I'm very proud of that.
Well, I'll ask another one.
I'll let you do. This is going to be a beauty, right? Go ahead.
Republicans generally have suggested that they don't want to pick winners and losers in the economy.
Right.
By putting their finger on certain issues that succeed or certain fail. But you've taken a different approach. You've picked winners and losers in terms of steel.
No, not losers. No. I want to only pick winners. I want winners in our economy. Steel was, we weren't going to have a steel industry. Steel is a very important, category. It's not like, let's say, even making that or making a piece of wood that nobody knows where it's going. We need steel. We need steel for defense. We need steel for many things, but maybe more importantly than anything, we need steel for defense and potential defense. We can't be buying our steel from China and from other places that maybe someday you have conflict with, hopefully not. We have reinvigorated our steel industry, and it's a tremendous thing. We've reinvigorated aluminum. Aluminum was a disaster. We have reinvigorated, and others. No, I want every business to thrive. Our miners now are thriving. Our miners now are absolutely thriving. And clean coal is a great thing. And it's another source. It has to compete against natural gas, has to compete against a lot of different things, including solar and including wind and including all of those things. Now, they're much, much more expensive, as you know. They're much, much more expensive. In fact, they need subsidy. And if you don't give them subsidy, I don't like energy that needs subsidy, but if you don't give them subsidy, they don't work. Solar, wind, etc. They need massive subsidy. You take a look at the money that was spent on these windmills that are killing all the birds and lots of other problems and destroying values. And I'm okay with it. I don't like giving subsidy to that, though, especially when you have energy that's so abundant for 500 years, that's so abundant that frankly is in many cases 1/10 and even better than that, the cost. So, but I'm for all industries. There's nothing that I don't like. I want it all working. That's why we're doing so well. Okay.
You've been talking about this caravan giving cover to the Saudis.
No, not at all. No, I just want to find out what's happening. In fact, Secretary of State Pompeo is going to be back probably late tonight or early tomorrow morning. He went to Turkey. He went all over. But he spent a lot of time with the Crown Prince, and he's going to have a full report. I'm not giving cover at all. With that being said, Saudi Arabia has been a very important ally of ours in the Middle East. We are stopping Iran. We're not trying to stop, we're stopping Iran. We went a big step when we took away that ridiculous deal that was made by the previous administration. The Iran deal, which was $150 billion and $1.8 billion in cash. What was that all about? And they are an ally. We have other very good allies in the Middle East, but if you look at Saudi Arabia, they're an ally and they're a tremendous purchaser of not only military equipment, but other things. When I went there, they committed to purchase $450 billion worth of things and $110 billion worth of military. Those are the biggest orders in the history of this country, probably the history of the world. I don't think there's ever been any order for $450 billion. And you remember that day in Saudi Arabia where that commitment was made. So they're an important ally, but I want to find out what happened, where is the fault, and we will probably know that by the end of the week. But Mike Pompeo is coming back. We're going to have a long talk.
We're talking about a man who lived across the river in Virginia. Why not send the FBI in to figure all this out?
Well, he wasn't a citizen of this country, for one thing, and we're going to determine that. And you don't know whether or not we have, do you?
Fine.
No, but do you know whether or not we've sent the FBI?
You sent the FBI.
I'm not going to tell you.
Mr. President,
Why would I tell you? Go ahead.
Have you asked for this audio, video intelligence that the church is supposed
We
to
have asked
have?
for it if it exists. We have asked for it. Yeah.
But you haven't got
We've
it.
asked for it if it exists.
Are you surprised that they haven't turned it over?
No, I'm not sure yet that it exists. Probably does, possibly does. I'll have a full report on that from Mike when he comes back.
Mr. President.
That's one of the things that's going to be the first question I ask.
Mr. President, there's been some talk after the midterms about spending being reined in up on the Hill. I'm curious, is there any programs that you'd like to see kind of
Well, I will
reined?
tell you that I'm having a cabinet meeting in a little while, and we're going to ask every secretary to cut 5% for next year. And last year, first year, I had to do something with the military. The military was falling apart. It was depleted. It was in very bad shape. And that's why we went for 2 years, $700 billion, $716 billion. And that took place over a period of 2 years. We have repurchased and purchased jets, missiles, rockets, all forms of military equipment, ships, submarines. We've rebuilt and are in the process of rebuilding our military to a level that has never been before. I had to do that. In order to get the 700 and the $716 billion, those numbers have never been heard of before, I had to give the Democrats, I call it waste money, things that I would never have approved. But we had to do that in order to get the votes, because we don't have enough Republican votes to do this without them. So when you look at the border, how bad it is, that's because the Democrats want it to be bad, because they don't give us the votes. That's why I hope we do very well in the midterm. But we're going to be asking for a 5% cut from every secretary today. Okay, we're going to see you at the cabinet meeting, because you're coming in for a couple of minutes so we can discuss it at length. And I just want to talk to these great folks and wish them best wishes. They've done a fantastic job, and we really. All right, folks, give me a second as we figure out why it's taking so long for us to get the footage from inside the White House, but it should be coming in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. Please make sure to share the live stream and also smack the thumbs up button. It should start soon. You guys are not going to miss anything, so don't worry. And there's going to be a few high-profile streams coming up later this week, folks, so make sure you guys stay tuned live here at Golden State Times. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 rallies, and also starting this Saturday that's coming up and Sunday is Politicon. At Politicon, we're going to have Tucker Carlson, we're going to have Ben Shapiro, we're going to have a whole bunch of people that are going to do town halls, speeches, debates. They're going to have panels talking about certain issues at Politicon. So make sure you guys stay tuned live here at Golden State Times for full coverage of Politicon this Saturday and Sunday. But there's 3 Trump rallies, one starting tomorrow, and that one's going to happen at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Then there's going to be another Trump rally on the 19th, which is this Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And there's going to be a Trump rally on Saturday the 20th, and that one is going to happen at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys stay tuned live here at Golden State Times. Thank you so much, and it should be coming up on your screen soon. Please, thank you. You can sit. It's great to be with you, and I want to thank Chief Dekmar for the wonderful introduction and for your lifetime of distinguished service. A very special friend of mine. I'm thrilled to be here in the great state of Florida with the incredible men and women of law enforcement. On behalf of all Americans, I want to express our eternal gratitude for what you do every single day to protect our families, defend our streets, and take down criminals. And what you do is keep America safe, and nobody does it better than you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I also want to thank your amazing families, because you know that without them you couldn't do it. And they're here and they are indeed fantastic people. So thank you to the families. Appreciate it very much. We are thrilled to be joined today by a true friend of law enforcement, Governor Rick Scott. And I will tell you that Rick has been incredible when it comes to law enforcement. Anytime you need funds from the federal government, he's on the phone. Mr. President, we need more funds. What's it for this time, Rick? It's for law enforcement. And I say, you got him. And speaking of that, oh, you got him. You got them. When law enforcement wants it, and they're reasonable, they want it, and what you do is so incredible. So I just want to say Rick is a tremendous governor, and he is your biggest fan. So thank you very much. And also another one of your big fans, I will tell you that, is Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's with us today. And thank you, Pam. Thank you very much, wherever you may be. She's in this big room someplace. Thank you. Incredible woman. Thank you as well to our Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, for being here. Flew down together. The press wants to know, what did you talk about? But we had a very good talk, I will say. That became a very big story, actually, folks. We had a good talk. As Hurricane Michael nears landfall, we are working with state and local officials in Florida to take all necessary precautions, and we urge all residents to be prepared and to heed local officials. I told Rick Scott that we are ready for you. We have already briefed FEMA, and FEMA's getting prepared, and it looks like a big one. Can you believe it? It looks like another big one, but we've handled them well. We handled them very well, and that includes the one that just left us in Florida. Never ends. But we're all prepared, and hopefully it won't be as bad as it's looking. It looked to me, a couple of days ago like it was not going to be much, and now it's looking like it could be a very big one. So we're prepared, and good luck. Today I also want to extend my very special thanks to Orlando Chief John Mina and the entire Orlando Police Department for hosting us in this great city. John? Where's John? Thank you, John. Great job. Great city. Safe city, too, John. Thank you very much. Great job. I also want to thank the board of IACP, and congratulations to your incoming president, Chief Paul Sell. Where's Chief? Chief? Good, Chief. I have a lot of respect for the chief. I know the chief. That means I guess I have to be here next year, Chief. Is that right? Looking like that, right? That's okay. For you guys, anything I can do, I'll do. Very importantly, I want to recognize our law enforcement partners from around the world who have traveled here to share their experience and to strengthen the vital cooperation that we all practice together. We have great, great cooperation all over the world. We deeply value your friendship and your partnership, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you. This year we proudly celebrate the 125th anniversary of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. It's a great group. Today I stand before you as President of the United States to tell you that my administration will always honor, cherish, and support the men and women in blue, and we are proud to do it. Working together, we have achieved extraordinary progress in the fight against violent crime. We understand that reducing crime begins with respecting law enforcement. For too many years, we have watched politicians escalate political attacks on our courageous police officers, and I've never seen it more than over the last few years. It's disgraceful. Politicians who spread this dangerous anti-police sentiment make life easier for criminals and more dangerous for law-abiding citizens. And they also make it more dangerous for police. And it must stop, and it must stop now. Before I took office, less than 2 years ago, our nation was experiencing a historic surge in violent crime. In 2015, 2016, additional 128,000 violent crimes were committed nationwide compared to the 2 previous years. That's a tremendous number of additional crime. Over the same period, we witnessed the steepest 2-year consecutive increase in murders in nearly half a century. But we are turning that tide around very rapidly, as you all know in this room. We are taking back our streets from drug lords, gangs, and crimes. We are being tough, we're being smart. By the end of this year, murders in major cities are estimated to drop by close to 10% from their levels in 2016. And I have directed the Attorney General's office to immediately go to the great city of Chicago to help straighten out the terrible shooting wave. Want to straighten it out fast. There's no reason for what's going on there. I've told them to work with local authorities to try to change the terrible deal the city of Chicago entered into with ACLU, which ties law enforcement's hands, and to strongly consider stop and frisk. It works, and it was meant for problems like Chicago. It was meant for it. Stop and frisk. And Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor of New York City, had a very strong program of stop and frisk, and it went from an unacceptably dangerous city to one of the safest cities in the country, and I think the safest big city in the country. So it works. It's got to be properly applied, but stop and frisk works. The crime spree is a terrible blight on that city, and we'll do everything possible to get it done. I know the law enforcement people in Chicago, and I know how good they are. They could solve the problem if they were simply do their job and do their job properly, and that's what they're...
All right, folks, so we have the footage from inside the White House where the president is going to honor a veteran with the Medal of Honor. So just give me a second while I put it up on your screen, and then we'll go on from there. Thank you.
Everybody stands up. I might need to climb.
All right, folks, so it should be up on your screen at this moment. Please share the live stream on social media. We need as much help as we possibly can, folks, in sharing this live stream. If you guys share the live stream on Twitter or on gab.ai, I'll give you guys a quick shout out. Also, later on today, we're going to be testing a new unit that we have for live streaming events on the field. That would mean Politicon, that would mean Trump rallies and stuff like that. So we have a new unit to make sure that all of the connection, the live stream is perfect. So we're going to be doing a test later on today. So if you guys want to join in on that test,
We're going to probably do it around maybe, I'm going to say 2 p.m. That's 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And we also need to get as much help as we can possibly get getting to the next Trump rallies and also to Politicon this weekend. So if you guys want to join us, then we hope to see you guys later on today. But right now, the president is set to come out in just a few minutes as he is set to present Sergeant Major John Canley and thank him for his service during the Vietnam War. So he's going to get the Medal of Honor. He's 80 years old right now. He's a former Marine. He lives in Oxnard, California. Honestly, not the best place in the world, but he lives in Oxnard, California. Oxnard is really, really bad, folks. If you guys don't know anything about that city, it's a very bad city. But this American hero lives there, and I think he lived there all his life, other when he was in the military. So yeah, thank you so much, and the president should be coming out soon. All right, folks, so I'd like to give a shout out to Deborah Nill. Thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Also, Patricia, thank you so much for sharing the live stream, Patricia. We got Eric the Patriot. Thank you so much, Patriot, for sharing the live stream. We also have Q's Girl. Thank you so much for sharing the live stream. We had Happy Campers. Thank you so much for always for showing your support, sharing the live stream, and all that good stuff. If you guys share the live stream on Twitter or on gab.ai, then we will give you guys a quick shout out on microphone. So if you guys can please share the live stream. You can also share it on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Reddit, whatever social media you guys are part of. Also, if you're part of those groups on Facebook, if you're a part of a group on Reddit or anything like that, make sure that you guys please share it on there too. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Very good. Oh, okay. What year is this? Okay, gotcha. I'll just put it down.
gonna move this way. It's gonna move this way for the middle. The middle is gonna be right there.
This way? Es solo para la medalla.
Am I good if I'm over here?
Porque se paran todo. Incluso si puedo hacerlo así.
I was trying to get myself between these two cameras. I might be able to move over a little bit.
Él se va a mover para allá.
The problem is once they all stand up, we're all kind of dead in the water. Okay there?
Good. Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
And your radar here, Robin?
Yeah. can move this way. Yeah, well, it's better.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by Medal of Honor recipient, Sergeant Major John L. Canley, United States Marine Corps, retired.
Let us pray. Almighty and holy God, whose spirit is unfurled to every breeze from dawn to setting sun, in the midst of this ceremony, awarding the Medal of Honor to Sergeant Major John Canley, we call on your presence, Lord, as we remember those days of fierce combat in which Sergeant Major and his Navy Marine Corps combat team fought for life in the crucible of the Vietnam War. We acknowledge to each other and to you, God, that seared into the action of those days of intense and sustained fighting are the echoes of American battles long forgotten, hundreds of skirmishes and combats, and the tradition of things endured and things accomplished, even battles yet to come, such as regiments hand down forever. With great humility and high respect, Lord, we turn our hearts to Sergeant Major and the warriors who descended into the ferocity of the violence so described in this Medal of Honor citation. We are forever grateful for their sacrifices to our nation. In your providence, Lord, we pray for all our war guardians on watch today. Encourage and strengthen them as they protect our country. Finally, righteous God, may this Medal of Honor testament of the fidelity and courage of Sergeant Major John Canley be a place where our nation finds unity and strength in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you very much, Chaplain. Appreciate it. Please sit down. Vice President Mike Pence, thank you for joining us for today's ceremony. This is always one of my favorite events. I like brave people. We meet them right here. 50 years ago, an American Marine fought with unmatched bravery in one of the longest and bloodiest battles of the Vietnam War, the Battle of Hue City. The name of that heroic Marine is Sergeant Major John Canley. I think you like them. Today we proudly award John the Congressional Medal of Honor. John's family is with us to pay tribute. His children, Ricky, Yukari, and Patricia, along with his two grandchildren, Victoria and Candace. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Also with us is John's cousin, who has always been like a brother to him, James Canley. James, thank you very much. Stand up, James. We're grateful to be joined by Deputy Secretary of Defense, Patrick Shanahan. Thanks, Patrick. Secretary of the Navy, Richard Spencer. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford. Hey, John, there's some pretty big people over here when you hear that, right? These are the biggest. These are the biggest, John. Former Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Peter Pace. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Peter. Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Robert Neller. Thank you. Thank you. Stand up, Al. Come on. Stand up. Thank you, Robert. Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Ronald Green. And you know, it's like old family week, huh? Well, here's a Marine I like a lot, that we all know, we all love. He's doing a fantastic job. 4-star General John Kelly. Stand up. And thank you as well to Congresswoman Julia Brownlee for being with us. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much. We are especially thankful to be joined by 5 previous Medal of Honor recipients. Donald Ballard, Harvey Barnum, please stand as I call your name, Roger Donlin, Thomas Kelly, and Brian Thacker. Sergeant Major John Canley was born in Caledonia, Arkansas. In 1953, at the age of 15, John used his brother's paperwork to enlist in the United States Marines. John, we didn't know that, John. John served in South Korea and Japan before shipping out to Vietnam for more than 5 years of intense combat. On January 30th, 1968, Vietnamese families gathered to celebrate the Lunar New Year known as Tet. In the midst of the celebration, thousands of North Vietnamese communists launched surprise attacks all over and throughout the country. This became known as the Tet Offensive, one of the largest enemy offensives that we've ever seen, and certainly of the Vietnam War. Within the first day, the communists seized control of a vital American stronghold, Hue City. At the time of the attack, John was a gunnery sergeant with Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. This company of roughly 150 Marines was tasked to help take back the city. On their way, the enemy attacked them with machine guns, mortars, rockets, and everything else they had. John's friend, Pat Fraley, was struck by a rocket explosion and was about to be run over by a tank when John charged through enemy fire and carried him back to safety. Today, 50 years later, Pat is here with us at the White House to honor the hero who saved his life. Thank you for being here, Pat. Where's Pat? Pat. That's great, Pat. Thank you very much. I knew you'd have no problem getting up. Huh? That's great. Thank you, Pat. Early in the battle, John's commanding officer was seriously wounded. Command then fell to John, who quickly organized his men and led them through the fight. One of his fellow warriors who joins us today, John Legato, said, "You followed him because he was a true leader. He was totally fearless. He loved his Marines, and we loved him back." Where is John? Where are you, John? Stand up, John. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. By the end of the day, John and his company of less than 150 Marines had successfully pushed into the city, which was held by 6,000 at least communist fighters. In the days that followed, John led his company through the fog and rain and in house-to-house, very vicious, very hard combat. He assaulted enemy strongholds, killed enemy fighters, and with deadly accuracy did everything you had to do. He raced into heavy machine gun fire on many occasions, all to save his fellow Marines. In one harrowing engagement after another, John risked his own life to save the lives of those under his command. During the 5th day of combat, John and his company were tasked with liberating the Joan of Arc School, which had become a strategic and symbolic stronghold of the communists' control of the city. As soon as John's company arrived, communist forces unleashed their machine guns with tremendous velocity, tremendous violence, all at the Marines. Undeterred, John and his comrade, Sergeant Alfredo Gonzalez, fearlessly charged forward with rocket launchers, killing the enemy and driving them from their positions. The enemy didn't know what the hell happened. During this daring maneuver, Sergeant Gonzalez was shot and killed, giving his life for his nation and for his fellow Marines. Today we are honored to be joined by Sergeant Gonzalez's mother, who I just met, who is incredible, Maria. Where's Maria? Maria, there's Maria. Thank you, Maria. Everybody in this room had great respect for your son. You know that. Thank you very much. We're also joined by Henry Murphy, whose brother Walter died fighting courageously in the Battle of Way City. And Henry, where are you, Henry? Please stand up. To Maria and Henry, we are eternally in your debt. Sergeant Gonzalez and Major Murphy are heroes who will live forever in the hearts of all Americans. Thank you both very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you very much. As the battle raged on, Sergeant Major John Canley fought his way inside the Joan of Arc School. There he and his fellow Marines went room to room in brutal, close-quarters combat. John raced straight into enemy fire over and over again, saving numerous American lives and defeating a large group of communist fighters. After an intense day of fighting, John and his fellow Marines liberated the school. But John wasn't done yet. despite sustaining serious injuries, very, very serious injuries, he continued to face down the enemy with no thought for his own safety. John waged 7 straight days of unrelenting combat, personally saving the lives of more than 20 Marines. By the battle's end, American Marines had defeated the communists and taken back the city. Today, we are joined by more than 30 of the brave Marines who fought with valor in the Battle of Way City. Would you please stand? You make us all very proud. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Sergeant Major John Canley continued his service long after Vietnam, training thousands of Marines in combat drills and overseas. Now, at 80 years old, you don't look 80 years old to me. Looks like we could put him in, Joe, right away, right? Nobody would know the difference, right? It's really great. He still goes to the gym. I asked him that question. I said, how are you keeping in shape? I still work out, sir. It's beautiful. And he goes right on the base, right near his home in California, and gives advice to young Marines. John's fellow Marines have described him as a Marine warrior, and I can see it, who is bigger than life and beyond the reach of death. He is truly larger than life. John, it is because of your extraordinary personality and being and whatever it takes that really do something very special for our country. America is the greatest force for peace, justice, and freedom the world has ever known because of you and people like you. There are very few. There are very few. Brave people, but very, very few like you, John. It is now my incredible privilege to present Sergeant Major John Canley with the Congressional Medal of Honor. And I would like to ask the military aide to come forward and read the citation. Thank you.
The President of the United States, in the name of Congress, takes pleasure in awarding the Congressional Medal of Honor to Gunnery Sergeant John L. Canley, United States Marine Corps, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty, in action against the enemy, while serving as Company Gunnery Sergeant, Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, 1st Marine Division, from 31 January to 6 February 1968 in the Republic of Vietnam. Alpha Company fought off multiple vicious attacks as it rapidly moved along the highway toward Way City to relieve friendly forces that were surrounded by the enemy. Despite being wounded in these engagements, Gunnery Sergeant Canley repeatedly rushed across fire-swept terrain to carry his wounded Marines to safety. After its commanding officer was severely wounded, Gunnery Sergeant Canley took command and led the company into Way City. At Way City, caught in deadly crossfire from enemy machine gun positions, he set up a base of fire and maneuvered with a platoon in a flanking attack that eliminated several enemy positions. Retaining command of the company for 3 days, he led attacks against multiple enemy fortified positions while routinely braving enemy fire to carry wounded Marines to safety. On 4 February, he led a group of Marines into an enemy-occupied building in Way City. He moved into the open to draw fire, located the enemy, eliminated the threat, and expanded the company's hold on the building room by room. Gunnery Sergeant Canley then gained position above the enemy strongpoint and dropped in a large satchel charge that forced the enemy to withdraw. On 6 February, during a fierce firefight at a hospital compound, Gunnery Sergeant Canley twice scaled a wall in full view of the enemy to carry wounded Marines to safety. By his undaunted courage, selfless sacrifice, and unwavering devotion to duty, Gunnery Sergeant Canley reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks for all good things, and especially today for Sergeant Major John Canley. Grant that his devotion to his country and to his Corps may instill in us the spirit of gun-ho, so that we may bring out the best in each other and also in our nation. According to thy will, O Lord. Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats until the President has departed the East Room.
All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. Thank you so much to all of those that share the live stream on social media. You guys are amazing. You guys help out the channel so much. Sharing the live stream on social media, Facebook, Twitter, sending it through email, through text message, however you can get it out there. If you put it in one of those groups on Facebook and Twitter, all of those shares help out the channel immensely, folks. We always ask, that if you would like to help out the channel, sharing is one of the biggest ways of doing it. And all of the sharing on social media and stuff like that helps out the channel a lot. So we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts here at Golden State Times. Okay, folks, so a bunch of high-profile live streams coming up within the next few days. We're going to have a Trump rally tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a Trump rally on Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So that one's going to be a little bit of a late stream for the people on the East Coast, but it's going to happen at 7 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to happen in Arizona. That one's in Arizona. And we're going to have one in Nevada, and that is going to happen on Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Also, on Saturday, it's Politicon. It's the first day of Politicon. That's going to happen Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to be there live to cover all of the debates, town hall meetings, speeches, and stuff like that you guys might want to see, including Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Dan Bonino, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Charlie Kirk. A bunch of people are going to be at Politicon this year, and it's going to be very interesting. So make sure you guys stay tuned live here at Golden State Times. Later on today, we are going to be testing our new unit for live streaming on the field. So make sure you guys join us. It's going to happen around 3 p.m. Pacific. So that's in a little bit over an hour from now. So if you guys want to join us and if you guys want to support Golden State Times, that's going to be the place to do it. And we hope to see you guys there later on today. We're going to be testing a new unit that hopefully makes it better for us to be out in the field or in a natural disaster, stuff like that we want to be covering. So we have a new unit and new microphones, new stuff like that, new cameras. So it's going to be awesome. And we're going to debut the actual streams on Politicon, at Politicon. And yeah, so we're talking about, folks, we're talking about full HD. We're talking about maybe even 4K, 4K recording and 1080p streaming, because we don't have that 5G network yet. Once we get that 5G network coming out, we're going to be able to stream in 4K, and that's going to be awesome. I can't not wait until 5G comes out and we're going to be able to stream in 4K with our 4K camera and our equipment. That's going to be awesome. Crisp live stream. Hopefully YouTube keeps it up to par. That way it doesn't buffer or stuff like that. And so that's in the future, hopefully 2020. So stay tuned live here at Golden State Times for all coverage. President Trump rallies, White House briefings, White House events, and Politicon coming up this weekend, and a bunch of other stuff. So more information at the stream later on today when we test our new equipment. Stay tuned live here at Golden State Times. We hope to see you guys next time. If you're new, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I'll see you soon. Peace.